Hello, please confirm if you can hear me, please. Can you guys hear me? Please, if you can hear me, use the chat section. Just say something so I know you guys can hear me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Oh, what's the problem? Okay. Let's keep the fire burning. Keep your emojis going on in the comment section, please. Hope you guys can still hear me. Okay, okay. All right. So we'll be kicking off exactly um in 1 minute. That's 10 minutes past 8. Keep commenting, no comment, comment, comment. Okay, so it's time, and a quick intro about myself. Okay, so my name is Kristen, and I am a Google certified UI UX designer. Okay, with over 4 years of hands-on experience, and I'll be introducing you guys to UI UX design today. Okay, so before we start, let's go to the history of UI UX design. Okay, so UI UX design started in the 1970s with a move from command line interfaces to graphical user interface, right? Um, Making computers easier to use. Okay, so what do I mean by command line interfaces, right? Command line interfaces um, simply means just text based. When uh, there was no visual or images, right? People were just making use of text then. That's what they were making use of, right? Okay. So in the 1990s to 2000, brought the rise of the web, okay? Shifting focus from uh, web design and structure, okay? Don Norman, who coined the term user experience at Apple, held and defined um, user experience, right? Okay. So now let's go to what's the meaning of UI UX. Please confirm if you can hear me, right? Confirm if you can hear me. Okay. So now what is UI and what is UX? UI in full means user interface, right? And it refers to the visual layout through which user interact with the product. Okay. UX, on the other hand, in full user experience refers to what a user feels while interacting with a product. Okay. Um, let's cite an example. For example, a fintech app, OPay. Once you open the app, the visual layout you see is the user interface, right? While the experience you feel, let's say, for example, you're trying to transfer money, that um, ease of which you're able to transfer money is what we refer to as user experience. Like the feeling you have, for instance, if you're trying to transfer money and you have issues trying to do that, that's a that's a bad feeling, right? That's a bad UX. But if you have kind of you figure everything out without going to YouTube to search for how to transfer money on OP, that's a good user experience. Are we following? Please comment in the comment section if you're following. Okay, 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 okay. So now let's quickly move to the differences between UI and UX. Okay. So UI, user interface, it focuses on the visual appearance of a product. Okay. Whereas UX focuses on the overall user interaction with the product. Okay. Another difference is that user interface focuses on the layouts, colors, typography, okay, and UX focuses on the usability of that product, the structure, and the user flow, okay. Another differences we can see is that user interface is tool based, and some example of those tools are Figma, Adobe XD, Sketch, right? Why for UX, user experience, it is research driven in the sense that what we are doing concerning user experience, we make research, we take surveys, and we test. That's user testing or usability testing. Okay. So basically, UI is about aesthetics. Um, like I said about OP, what you see is UI, okay? And UX is about function and usability, okay? Hope you guys are following. Comment to comment if you're following what I'm saying. Hope I'm not talking to myself. Okay, okay, okay. So the next on my list is the responsibility of a UI UX designer. What are your responsibility as a UI UX designer? What are you meant to do? Oh, I slow down. Oh, okay, I'll slow down. Okay, as a UI UX designer, you are meant to first conduct user research and gather insights. Okay, before you begin a project, before you can do anything, you need to make research, right? You need to understand your target audience. Who are you building for? Are you designing for elderlies? Are you designing for teenagers? Are you designing for children? Right. The way you design for teenagers or Gen Z would be different from the way you design for elderlies. For example, if you're designing for teenagers, you can include a lot of animations and whatnot. Okay, but if you're designing for elderlies, you have to make everything simple so that they don't get stuck in the user flow, right? They don't get stuck using the product. Okay. Um, the next responsibility of a UI UX designer is to create wireframes and prototype. Okay. Along this class, you get to know what's a wireframe. Okay. Wireframe is kind of like a sketch of the product, right? But there are different kind of wireframes. There are low, that's the ones with just lines and squares, and they have the one with images, right? That's for high fidelity prototype. Okay. So I just mentioned it. So the next responsibility is for you to design those sketches. You convert them into your high fidelity interface, like your OP app. Okay, before OP was designed, there were sketches, your drawing, dash, for text, square for images and whatnot. Okay. Who is saying I should slow down a bit? Am I too fast? Am I too fast? Okay, Chuku, is that you? Am I too fast? Okay, okay. So next on the list is, I mean, the next responsibility is for you to test your design. Okay, you've iterated, you've researched, you've gotten your high fidelity prototype. Don't worry, don't get occupied about the jargons I'm using. You get to understand them later. Okay, you've done all that. Now you have to test if your design will work, right? You know you're doing everything inside your head, so you need to bring it out to the real world, give it to the target audience that will actually use it, so that they will use it and you get their feedback from them. And after you get their feedback, you put it back into the design process. Okay, yeah. So the last responsibility, or should I say what I have on my list, is collaboration. Okay, you have to collaborate with developers, you have to collaborate with product managers, and you have to collaborate with stakeholders. Stakeholders are, let's say, the investors or the owner or founder of what you're designing. Okay, are you guys following? Please comment. Let me know you're following. Comment. Okay, okay. So next on my list is, where do UI UX designer work? Okay. Um you've learnt your skills, you have to work. Okay, you have to work so you can chop, right? Yeah. So basically, as a UI UX designer, you can work with big tech companies. For example, Google, Meta, what's that Elon Musk's company? Tesla, right? Yeah, you can work there. But as a beginner, you should not be aiming to work there now, right? What you should be aiming to is building your portfolio and gaining experience, right? For and so that you can be able to stand out in the competition, right? Okay. Next on the list where UI UX designers can work is startups. Okay, startups are new businesses, right? Just I have a business idea and I want to start it up, I'm automatically a startup, right? Okay, and as a beginner UI UX designer, you can easily help out or work with startups, right? Yeah, because some of the startups are low on funds, right? Or I should not say low on funds, they're on budget, right? So um, they might not be able to acquire those very, very experienced designers, right? Those designers that charge very high. So um, beginner designers can come, set their foundation for them, something like that. Okay, another place UI designers can work is agencies and design studios, right? Yeah. Okay, you can also work in a government and public sector. Okay, and also freelancing and remote platforms. Freelancing and remote platform like LinkedIn, Upwork, um, there are a lot of them. We'll get into details about that later. Okay. I think that's all I have for today. Yeah. So, are there any questions? Any questions you like to ask so that we can call it a day? Are you guys still with me? Oh no. Okay, so someone asked the difference between a UI/UX design dev and a website dev. Okay, so UI, user interface, right? It consists of generally any interface. Um, let's say an app interface, a website interface, right? Okay. So now a website dev um, might only focus on just developing website alone, right? While a UI/UX designer might focus on UI/UX dev might focus on maybe developing app um, interface, right? So basically, the difference they might have, there's not really much difference, right? The difference they might have is maybe the kind of language they use. Okay, a website dev building a website might just require HTML, JavaScript, CSS. Okay, while a UI/UX dev might require React Native, right, for building an app, right? Yeah, so that's that. Um, does that answer your question? I'm seeing another question. So let's say someone needs a web app. Where does the UI/UX designer come in, and how does he work with the web designer? Um, UI/UX designer, is designing interfaces, right? So a UI/UX designer can be a web designer, right? I don't know. I don't think you should say how does he work with the web designer. I think you should say how does he work with the web developer. Okay. So here's how it works. Okay. So a client needs a website. First, there have to be a design. Okay. So the UI/UX designer is going to design the website, design the layouts, gather the images, gather the resources, gather all the visual aspects, right? Then the web developer, then once the feedback and the concluded with the design, the UI/UX designer will hand it over to the web developer to write code that will make it functional. Okay. Um. Yeah, that's for okay, Chuku. Hope that answer your question. Um. Any other question? Keep your question coming so I can keep answering. Then we call it a day. Are you referring to a UI/UX designer? A UI/UX designer does not write code. Okay, but a UI/UX dev writes. They have their different code, not lesser code. Oh. Not that is lesser. They have like a different language. Okay, UI/UX dev, not designer now. Dev have a different language. for, let's say, okay, let me just use an app design and a website design. Okay. For app design, there's a different language you write for that. For normal websites, there's a different language, right? Yeah. So that's that. Any other question? And we call it a night or call it a day. It's actually a night. Yeah. A UI UX designer designs, let me use an app. It designs the app, right? A UI UX develops the app, writes the code for the app to be functional. Do you understand it now? Okay. So, any other questions? Any other questions? By 8:35, I should end this live. So, if there's any other question, you can drop it now. No more questions. Okay. Um, let's just wait till 8:35. Then end. That's if there's no other questions. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. Few more seconds and we'll end the stream. All right. So it's nice having you guys here. I'm going to drop an update in the group chat on how the class will be running, right? The and it's going to be more flexible for anyone because yeah, that's just it. So good night.